Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here, and if either it's not a welcome back, it's a welcome, or you just been here but haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. I'd love to see you around more often. So we're going to continue this. You can also smash that like button. And not. Okay, you're coming into there. You push into there. You guys attack across here again. That one division get organized a bit better. Let's move 2 divisions into here. Well, I don't think we'll be into Berlin by Christmas, but we are moving in a good direction. There, okay. Well, we could improve our high command. I don't think airborne assault is necessary. Yeah, army regrouping sounds like a good mission statement. And we do have fairly interesting pocketing going on. Okay, good. Now we got fair amount of divisions there. Hello, blue, white, red. How you doing today? Okay, we've smashed fairly deep. Almost cut this off. Let's see if we can support that attack. Create another pocket up here for a general advance. Okay, you guys push there. You support. You come, well, one of you come down here. Allies might make it a bit before you doing this timeline. Oh, they might make it to Berlin before us. They've liberated Belgium and Netherlands, and the Netherlands is probably not so much Dutch forces, but whoever it is up here is pushed in there. I'm going to sneeze in a moment. Maybe not. We'll see. And that's definitely helping me a lot, keeping me down here. Well, we can take a look at some naval battles. Well, they took out one of our aircraft. Inconclusive there. It looks like it for the Italians did attack up here and I guess still occupy that. That's maybe a good thing, meaning they have forces occupying a useless bit of terrain. Okay, well, it looks as again they've abandoned some of their front line for more important fronts. You can support that. Advance. Okay, well. Just something of a general push. I know we are trying to create a pocket. I am keeping that in mind. But we can keep them from supporting up here too much. Okay, why aren't we having anybody in there? Did you get pushed back maybe? Well, you can support that advance. Well, since the road is open, we'll take it. The fall of Cairo. Oh. So the Italians are still making more advances in it in North Africa. Wow, how interesting. That is an interesting development. I don't know what coat of arms reading. What are we talking? What is Ari going on about? Greece is back. Oh yes, you're right. Greece is back. I hadn't noticed. But Vichy France is expanding. How are we doing for production? Okay, tanks. Medium light. Well, we're currently making more than we're using up, but we're still a massive deficit of tanks. And aircraft and other things, yeah. But lack of production isn't going to slow us down much. Okay, well, Rostov we fortified, so that is a city I don't want to attack directly. We'll see if we can surround it. Oh good, you guys finally made the pocket here. And yes, it is a fortified city pocket, but we can hopefully push well enough. Let's leave the tanks out of that push. And it looks like they got like damn well. You guys push there. Okay, a bunch of you come up to here because otherwise that may become a problem. Oh, well, you come this way. I want you to. And you guys attack there just to pin this force down. Okay, not going as well as I hoped, but not going terrible either. So, push in that region as well. Support that attack. Support that attack. Attack there to pin. We occupy there and then cut. Well, maybe a few divisions as it were, but still. No, actually, you go there. You come here. Along with you fighting across the river. You can support that attack. Okay, well, you guys... Oh, well, maybe immediately attack there. Hello, Raghar. Ishi. The Russian more important for getting resources than being conquered. Are you talking historical or are you talking within the game? Sometimes I presume people are talking historical and they really mean within the game. Both. Okay. Well, let's see. Historically, from the National Socialist perspective, and I know I've seen people that argue things out on economics, but and most of the history professors and whatnot are infected with Marxism. And I don't necessarily mean communism. I mean Marx's view of history is primarily motivated by economics. I would disagree with that. Humans and history and whatnot are primarily motivated by emotion, I would say, not economics. But the National Socialists see things in racial terms and see the Russians as, outside of the Jews, as the primary sort of racial enemy that they have to fight. And that can infect them and whatnot. So, you know, the French, the English, you can sort of kind of coexist with them to some degree within National Socialist philosophy. So within National Socialist philosophy, if you sort of lose a war to the French, well, your borders may change a bit or something like that, where it's sort of existential, sort of like we will live or they will live, but neither both of us will live kind of thing within National Socialist philosophy. So you have to destroy the Soviet Union. So from the National Socialist viewpoint, you have to take on the Soviet Union. Now, from the war-winning standpoint, well, you shouldn't take on too many enemies at once. And if you're doing well in other theaters, and the Soviets are sending you resources, then no, it's better not to attack them. And so it would be better to keep them at peace. And we're still talking historically. I've thought for a long time, maybe not always, that Germany doesn't necessarily need to conquer Britain, but if it secures the Mediterranean, which may or may not include Gibraltar. Gibraltar is important, but Gibraltar itself just gives access to. But if you truly secure it up, you know, Egypt, the Suez, you know, what is here currently Vichy France, Syria, Israel, whatnot. You've secured all of that. And then maybe it is time to attack the Soviet Union while Britain is still at war with you. Maybe. Just saying maybe. But definitely not when they did. It was victory disease and not good to do it when they did. So, historically. Now, in game terms, it's a similar sort of thing, in my opinion. It's better to take the Mediterranean first. Though I have played in, and I sort of, to some degree, conflate Hearts of Iron 3 and Hearts of Iron 4. I've recently played a game as Germany in which immediately after taking Poland, go to war with the Soviet Union, and I took out the Soviet Union before taking out France. Just, go east. I did it. So you can push early in a few other games. I'm not waited for taking of the Mediterranean to push in, but normally I like to wait. So it's timing, and I don't know if there's for sure one, this is the solution kind of thing. Okay, let's push here. And yes, 3 more. Let's see if we can create another pocket. 3 more provinces right through here if we can. And we need to sort of kind of hold down here. Okay, well, let's... Okay, well, let's disband the orders, because we're going to send you... We're here because I think sort of areas pointing out that would be a nice... Why aren't you letting me do that? There we go, push there. Yes, well, we're going to encircle Rostov because it's fortified and I don't need to entirely use cannon fodder up badly. Now it looks like they've abandoned that, so we'll push there, maybe down to here. And remember, all the provinces along the, north or east side of that river have fortifications, so we haven't really wanted to push hard where there's fortifications. Okay, so we're across the river here. You push into there. You encircle that. You guys advance up. You guys advance up. You guys might as well. Okay, come on. Come on. Take these pockets down. No, just an NKVD division, but push. Like any of those need to stay there, so you go to there. You go to there. You just take that. You push into there. You push into there. Make them feel the pressure. You can support that attack before they get organized and defend. Well, we've almost got the pocket here. And you might as well start pushing into Romanian territory. And Okay, keep pushing on these pockets, guys. Okay, well that's worked out rather well. You push up to there, you push the real division, we can leave the NKVD there. There we go. That is doing well. Okay, well, let's... One of you push there. One of you push there. You're going there, so fine. You push to there. You push to there. You push to there. Okay, shot down. You support that attack, that's an important attack. Throw all of our formidable divisions forward to there. You guys come down here. Yeah, they're reacting hard, but oh, you go to there. What are there, 69 divisions or something in there maybe? Maybe not that many. What did I click? No. No. You can go and take the air base. No, you can just keep moving to there. These guys can move to the air base. Come on, some pinning attacks. Not sure exactly where if you're thinking attacking there, but we're a bit weak. There, and I may have diverted more forces than I should have to some other part of the front, but hey. You know, let's take all of these guys, send them over to here, as well as we definitely want to be hitting this province from more than one direction.
Внимание! Готов выдвигаться. Готов выдвигаться.
Yeah, we could use the factories back.
Входим! Мирно!
Directly to the right, the one you're attacking, the encirclement. You're talking attack here, maybe? Yeah, I think if I don't keep, I mean, well, maybe with a pinning force.
Выходим!
Like that. I just don't want to lose this province from a counterattack. And they just shift their forces one way or another if I didn't do too much. There we go.
Готов выдвигаться. Так точно. Внимание!
There we go. The Great Encirclement. May not seem quite as great because we have taken out a bunch of divisions in smaller encirclements along the way.
Готов?
Okay, well now. Oh, come. You
Мирно!
know, you are
Брось!
doomed.
Я готов! Выходим! Слушаю! Готов! Слушаю! Я готов!
Okay, well,
Жду приказа! Готов!
let's send 2 divisions here, see if we can cut off a few up
Я готов!
in the north.
Жду приказа! Смирно! Так точно! Готов!
There we go.
Так точно! Брось! Готов выдвигаться! Я готов! Так точно! Готов выдвигаться! Готов! Брось!
We don't want them breaking out under any circumstances.
Так точно!
Yes, you attack Stalino, you come this way, then up at Stalino.
Жду приказа!
What we could do being more research and might as well. PPSHs and, well, okay, we have a lot of tanks in production. How badly are we? Well, could maybe use some more light tanks. Keep those divisions full. Right now I'm not really upgrading quality of production equipment, just want more. Oh, we need rubber, and see if we can trade for some rubber. Oh, that's because some of our rubber sources have been cut off. well, we can get it from British Malaya, so let's end that. Let's end that. Let's end that, and then, but let's see if we can get it from there. So let's increase it by, no, not by that much, come on. 20, 32. And, okay, the United States is not sending us any. Why not? No. No, they're not going to send us any. Maybe British Malaya will. There we go. That will help our production, get that going in a good, or better, at least.
Выходим! Так точно! Мирно! Выходим!
Taking Kharkov would be nice. Let's see if we do a bit of a mini encirclement within the encirclement there.
Брось! Внимание! Внимание! Слушаю!
Stop drawing those silly lines.
Мирно!
And good, we've taken Rostov, so you guys
Выходим!
push up like that.
Слушаю! Готов!
Like I was saying before, you
Готов выдвигаться!
historians often read history backwards. And I definitely can be guilty of that too. And by reading history backwards, if you don't understand, we know the results of history, so we look back, we look at the steps backward, as opposed to taking it from the perspective of the people at the time, not knowing what the outcome, or however you want to say it, is going to be or likely going to be. And we can also see the idea that historians, I don't think, always look at the views or the motivations of the people at the time. This is not backwards so much, but as they look at history like through, and we're going through this right now in our society right now, of judging people in the past by the standards of today. Take down their statue. Some of the statues I could probably agree with taking them down, but I absolutely abhor the idea, including I've seen historians call for them to be taken down by mobs, meaning vote. Now the problem is in some, I guess there's some guy who helps develop Bristol in England, and he was involved in the slave trade. Well, Bristol itself was involved in the slave trade heavily. I mean, I don't know if there's hardly ever slaves ever show up in Bristol, but the ships leaving the port definitely were. And we need to get rid of this statue. And what may happen is every time that people go vote on it, people vote to keep it. So the mob realizes they can't get it through popular democratic action. But, and so you have things like that, or you have, hey, Jefferson Davis, he is the president, if you don't know, I don't know, all the Europeans know this well, president of the Confederacy. Wasn't he, maybe somebody correct me, wasn't he also maybe a vice president of the United States? He was definitely a senator. But I thought maybe he had some other, or maybe Minister of War or something for the United States at one point. Okay, well, you could look at him as a traitor and say, oh, well, we don't need Jefferson Davis statues anymore. And yeah, that could be very good. Very right out in front of, the Capitol of Richmond, or, the building, or something like that. And yeah, okay, maybe he should go away. Where I don't support removing, say, a statue of General Lee, because he is a good military leader, and many people alive today's ancestors fought under him as a military action. And Lee himself was very conflicted over the breakup of the Union, and once the war was over, did just about everything he could in his power to promote reconciliation. Whether I heard they took down the Jefferson's statue in the capital of Kentucky. Yeah, if they take it down because and not because the mob is going to tear it down. If they take it down and they want to, used to be and Abe was in the room together, but now it's no more. And so, I have to think, I have to put myself in my shoes, and I go, well, what about, because, statues of Marx and Lenin, especially a lot of the people tore them down. Yeah, and if you actually have like a revolution, like in Romania, you had a revolution when you shot Ceausescu and you took it over. Well, okay, that's a revolution. Are we having a revolution now? Yes, in America, yes, and it's going to fail, but it may have effects. But even if you're looking at, say, Poland, Romania, Russia, I'm all for taking down the statues of Lenin and Marx, but I'm also for, maybe you ought to take a park somewhere. Could be out on the outskirts of one of your major cities or somewhere, and create a park of old statues, of communist statues. The communists can go there and have picnics, or people can go there as, school field trips and go, this is a statue of this evil man, Stalin, he killed. This could be like in Ukraine. He killed 5 million Ukrainians in the Holodomor, however many it was. I don't know. Maybe 3 million. I'm not sure. That doesn't matter. But, and so even, say, in the Ukraine, you can keep the statue and just move it to a park of shame, if you will. And, that's would be my solution for that. And, we look at it, and I actually didn't know this until recently. Karl Marx supported slavery and was a very big racist. He supported, because he was alive during slavery in America, and he wrote in support of slavery and thought that it was necessary in places like America, and very much supported slavery of black people, and was, presumably then a racist. So, so we're going to tear down the Karl Marx statues. Leftist people who want to tear things down. So, we're often judging people of the past by the way we judge things. And I'm also looking at this as a historian, not just, wanting to talk about what's going on today. And so, by that, and this is different than reading history backwards. This is trying to understand the motivations of the people, whether it's Stalin and Hitler and FDR or whatever. Because you talk a lot about, or some historians talk a lot about FDR, wanting to support China over Japan in the, Sino-Japanese war, going on, because FDR's family, I don't think so much FDR, but maybe he had investments too, but was at times very heavily invested, and I think a lot of America's elites were, in the China trade. Now, the American China trade was not the opium. They never went to the best of my knowledge, because you had to be a British ship to show up at British India ports. So it would have to be a total, complete smuggling operation in which the early enough on, while America still existed, the British East India Company had its own naval fleet, not just its vessels that had cannons on them to keep pirates away, but they actually had commissioned naval vessels sailing around, mostly for local piracy and maybe smuggling, anti-smuggling operations going on. Or, of course, the Royal Navy, and into the 20th century, the Royal Navy, the East India Company, losing all of its military ability. And so, yeah, maybe theoretically they could have traded with some of the remainder French and Portuguese colonies. I don't know the laws, but so the U.S. trade with China isn't the opium trade, but there was the China trade. And so they look at FDR as maybe being motivated by money, whether personally or just simply, hey, money is good for America, so we're going to, follow the money, and that will help America out. Whether FDR had any stocks, any investments in the China trade at the time, I don't know, and whether I don't, just don't know if they're historians are saying that, but just going, hey, yeah, we need, trade is good, and so doing that is the motivation. And that's, again, Marxist, because Marxism, you can be a completely anti-communist and buy into, because you buy into economics, and this really shows up with Marx as the primary motivating factor of history. And you can look at that, say, as going back to Rome knows, maybe not well exactly where, but knows some of the major supplies of tin, which is fairly rare in the Roman world, but very much needed to make bronze, is coming from Britain, because otherwise you just have copper. And so you need bronze. I mean, they're out of the Bronze Age, but they used tons of bronze in the Iron Age. Is Rome motivated by money or other reasons for taking Britain? Now, I don't think Rome is motivated by money and going after Carthage. I think it's Carthage pushing into Sicily here, and hence being influenced the various political tribes. This is before Rome, has unified all of Italy there. And I think it's just periodic warfare that they go, well, we've got to take down Carthage. Now, this area, although they do sort of sow Carthage city itself with salt and whatnot, this area is a rather, at the time, it was warmer back then. They had more growing in North Africa, more various food growing in more North Africa than they do today. Maybe we'll warm the planet up a bit and change the weather patterns and get North Africa green again, but we'll have to wait on that. But that's another whole thing. So looking at it, food to supply Rome as being a motivation factor. So whether it was economic food or whether it was political, I think it was more political. So, but did they go after Britain because of not just tin, but that was a major thing there, and they knew it was traded from here, or was it more of a obviously it's a lot closer than it sort of appears with this map, but was it Celts, the Gauls were Celts from here, but Celts from here raiding down into here and being a threat and just purely wanting to expand in the eyes, just simply the ideology of expanding where you can expand. And so the way historians look at the past is, I think, too much viewed from their modern day circumstances. And this is what I'm still trying to come to grips what National Socialism. I mean, you can take just the words national and socialism, which very much they were, not necessarily Marxist socialism, but socialism, and it was nationally based versus international socialism. But and I just trying, for various reasons, not just YouTube reasons, but trying to avoid the sort of shorter Nazi term. But the National Socialist viewpoint views things through race and the viewpoint of history, and this is very much in Hitler's belief, Hitler's mythology, that it's a constant struggle. And this part I sort of kind of have to agree with, is that there's a constant struggle. It's not always like a violent struggle, but it's a competition between cultures, is the way I look at it. And so we can see cultures that are on the rise, cultures that are on the decline. If they decline enough, you can have, failed states like Somalia and New Somalia, also known as Minneapolis, or Minnesota. Up here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, is where most of the Somali, I think tens of thousands of Somalis have settled. Wonder why they've had riots and problems and collapse there. And Ilhan Omar represents this district, a person who's lied on her, I think even to what her name is, on her application to become a U.S. citizen. So I think she is illegally a U.S. citizen, so then she is illegally run for Congress and is illegal in the Congress. But that's another whole thing. So they moved a failed state to America, and it's failing a state in America, that if it wasn't for massive Somali immigration to primarily greater Minneapolis area, we probably wouldn't have this. So we can look at a complete failed state and see this up here is now today called Somaliland, and basically maybe Saudi Arabia, but I don't even know if they, basically almost no one recognizes it as an independent country. But it is doing, and it was the former British colony area, it is doing so much better, and has its own currency, has a different currency. It prints its own currency, or it has printed and imports it, its own currency, which is different than Somalia, the failed state. So you can have a culture that collapses enough that the state will fail, and then eventually, somebody's going to come into the power vacuum. So it's not just, oh, hey, Hungary's a bit on the decline and Romania's on the rise, so the evil Romanians are going to come in and take over, fight to conquest. It's more like they may be looking at, hey, there's, Buda and Pest, which are sort of two different cities sitting next to each other. And I keep forgetting which one's which. But they're divided by a river. One, I think it's Buda is the mountain and Pest is the south side of the river. I don't know. Somebody can post in the chat or comment below later on. It could be that Buda and Pest are in a civil war, and it's just going crazy. And Romania okay, we've had enough of this. We're going to come in and take it over. It may be truly as a somewhat of a humanitarian type mission, but it also may be, well, hey, Austria or Slovakia is going to take it over, and then they might become a threat to us. So there are cultures at the rise and decline. And so that's my belief on things. And it doesn't mean that the struggle between Belgium and the Netherlands and Germany needs to go on, and it's going to struggle, and there's going to be, that's more Hitler's sort of extreme example of this. But Hitler believes in these struggles and he sees them as race. So he believes he needs to invade the Soviet Union. Not that he needs to invade it in 1941, but that there's going to become a war. And now he thinks 1941 is a well-timed invasion and it's going to collapse. But so he sees history through, both history and current politics through these viewpoints. And to understand the motivations, you have to do this. And this is where I think like TIK, and I don't mean to slam him, I think he does a great job with a lot of what he does. but he, was looking at Goebbels' diary and I believe he was accurately examining Goebbels' diary, but for talking about food starvation problems in Germany, that comes back to economics, whether the Soviet Union and to, hey, OCB, how you doing? I just didn't know she's, I'll get to some of the chat comments in a moment. Earlier, is it better to invade the Soviet Union or just use it as get resources, including food? And they were getting food shipments coming in, and Germany was having severe problems. Whether the Soviet Union is functionally capable of producing enough food to sell to Germany or not, that's another question. But they were supplying large amounts of food to Germany, but Germany was still in food shortages, and I believe that's very real, and that may be motivating to some degree the timing of it, of the invasion. But I think much more it's seen as a a opportunity timing, and along with eventually we're going to do this anyway, so we might as well do it now. So yeah, you have to sort of try to understand the people from their perspective. And yes, U.S. spending a lot of money on China factories and other investments. China losing to Japan would obliterate. Yeah, and I'm not saying that doesn't have a factor, but is it more the humanitarian factor that is pushing? Is it more the geopolitical factor? You have the big empire of the Soviets, whether the U.S. thought it was dangerous or not, or the Germans thought it was dangerous or not. They set up the Anti-Comintern Pact, so obviously they did. But do we want another major superpower of Japan here that the U.S. is afraid? Or, so is it geopolitical? Is it moral help, the Chinese people that are being slaughtered, the rape of Nanking and whatnot, what's motivating it? Or is it the economics primarily? I mean, I'm sure I'm absolutely sure that it's one of the, weights on the scales tipping the balance. But is it a big weight, or, the U.S. investments, both as a government and as individuals and as corporations and whatnot, is that a big weight or is that a minor weight? A Marxist viewpoint, and I want to separate that out from a communist, because I may be a capitalist, but a Marxist view of history will always put the biggest weight on economics, where I don't think that that's the case. I think that is a factor, but not the case. I remember the second invasion by Rome was motivated to show the public that the current government can do better than the train wreck first invasion was done by previous officials. Invasion of you. Yes, because you have the sort of reconnaissance in force, which is my understanding is the first invasion by Julius Caesar, and it was in no way was his force, did he think, just because I know it, that he thought that he was going to conquer Britain with it. Now, did he think he could show up with his, and I forget how many, 2 or 3 legions or whatever it was, and say conquer southeast Britain or something, or because London was founded by Rome, but so it wasn't there at the sort of first major crossing point that you could do with bridging at the time, with at least other outside of major Roman bridging right there. But did they think that they could maybe set up a small Roman province of Britain or something like that, maybe, and stay, leave a legion in garrison and stay and whatnot? Or was it just truly meant to be we're there and we're back? And so it was Claudius. It wasn't so much Claudius. He more shows up and takes credit for it afterwards. But it was under Claudius is when you have the real sort of conquest. Earlier under Caligula, he sort of kind of tries, but sort of famously tells his legionnaires to harvest seashells take him away from Neptune because Neptune foiled his invasion by storms or something. I don't know. But so yeah, it's so you have the first is under Julius Caesar, then you have his nephew / adopted son, and I keep because Augustus is the name that he sort of takes after, and we'll leave it at Augustus when he becomes in essence in power, not really emperor. They don't use that term just yet. But Augustus, and then you have Tiberius, then you have Caligula, and then finally you have Claudius as now a little bit more emperor. So it's that long after that you finally get under the Claudian rule that you finally get the conquest of enough of Britain to call it a province. Under Claudius, still places like Wales were still not conquered, and of course they never get all of what is today Scotland. So yeah, and Hadrian's Wall, by the time you get up to where Hadrian's Wall is, it's several generations later to get up to there, just to give sort of the history of that. So, and is all that motivated by profit? Well, to some degree, because if it's entirely unprofitable, if they were trying to conquer desert or something, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. But great. Hey, thanks. Smoking Comba, how you doing? So yeah, that just sort of, so you have to look at that. I mean, after seeing the Finnish, it's really kickstarted the invasion. Yeah, the Finnish. I think how bad Soviet Union did in fighting the Winter War definitely colored incorrectly Germany's and particularly Hitler's opinion of what fighting the Soviets would be like. That is very true. Yes, and so that is very. It's sort of like, hey, small Finns. Yeah, Finns got lucky. Hey, Smoking Cobra, thanks for all of the emotes. Okay. Hear that. Glad to hear that. I'm doing good. Okay. Octavian. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Screw. Octavian. How you doing? Yep, that's right. Just going through the thing. I keep forgetting to, I know who he is. Oh, okay. It's you, Ari. Okay. Wish you guys sort of kind of kept some of the same things that I could keep. Yeah, Harry's famous for having a different personality name on different things. Long message incoming. We had a BLM protest here, and people are so angry that the dumb kids went to protest. And in our company, we had one guy who went to protest, so our company gave him 2 weeks quarantine without pay as he broke COVID-19 rules. That's very good, OCB. His colleagues support him, but we called him an idiot for going. Yeah, it is an idiot. Because I actually sort of kind of thought here, because I live in, greater LA area, that, hey, yeah, I could start, I went through some health issues last year. So not that I may be in a super vulnerable position health-wise, but something of a vulnerable position. So I've been very super cautious over it, just because I don't want to go back to the hospital, even if I'm going to be fine after all of it, just a little sick or something, because most people don't die. I know all that. But I don't need to go through that. But now with everybody breaking quarantine and not just breaking quarantine, quote unquote, but breaking social distance and going in big mobs, that's really sort of made me retreat back a little bit like that. So it's not that I'm completely paranoid, or it's not that if you're going, hey, yeah, my country's opened up and I'm going to the restaurant, good for you. And I totally agree with a lot of people thinking a lot of the shutting down is silly at this point. But there's a difference between some social distancing, being separated from each other, in line at the supermarket and not sitting too close to each other and other sort of venues is big, continuing that for the next 6 months or something until, inoculations become more of a thing and whatnot. That's one thing, but it's another thing to keep businesses shut down when they don't need to be. So I'm going back to being more concrete. Back to Sparks there. Okay, so yeah, I guess before I end this thing, my declarative statement is the killing of George Floyd should not have happened. It was very bad that it was happened. And I understand people protesting in America and particularly in Minneapolis about that, but they've already freaking charged all 4 of the cops involved. I think maybe 1 or 2 of them maybe shouldn't be charged with a crime. Definitely the guy that killed him should probably be 3rd-degree murder or something. Yes. And definitely all of the cops should be fired, and very likely all of the people, because supposedly it's now come out as the chief of police approved beforehand putting your knee on someone's neck as an approved tactic to subdue a person. So maybe they need retraining in the police department. Also, on all of that, I'm all with you. Okay, now it's just become a social revolution, and so yeah, we really don't want it, but we have. Oh yeah, you have many things we got to do, and about that. And so looting is just because centuries ago, white man, and so it's become, so it's that. And if you look at, and a lot of people, well, yeah, but the cops just got to stop killing black people. Okay, here's a fact. It is, I don't know, FBI statistics are one of the major I think it's the Post or one of the major newspaper statistics. For the year of 2019 in the United States, last year, now maybe a lot more this year just because of all the violence, but a total of 10 black men that were considered unarmed were killed by the U.S. police. Out of 333 million Americans, 10 were killed. Now I think that's a pretty hard fact, but I think, because I heard a rundown of all 10 of the cases real quickly, I think it's something like 4 of them, they were driving an automobile at the time, and at least 1 or 2 of the cases, they were actively driving the automobile rapidly at a police officer trying to run him over, and the police officer was shooting the guy behind the car. Another time, I think a police officer was sort of hung up on the car and reaching in the car and trying to drive, and for his own life, he pulls out his, to save his life, he pulls the gun out and shoots it. So the car may not be considered being armed, but they were using the car as a weapon. And I think it's about 4 of the cases out of the year's total that there were charges, either convictions or still they're going through the court case, charging the police officer with a crime of some sort, whether it's actually murder or just manslaughter or some other things. So that's 10. Now there may be other shootings, and there's maybe a lot of but only 10 unarmed black men were killed by police in 2019. So it is not an epidemic. I mean, a bad thing when it happens in an unjustified way, no doubt, but 10 cases. So around the world or in America, if you think that this is some sort of, that killing black men is some sort of epidemic, wherever you may be in America, is entirely not the case when you look at the scale of America. And those are basic facts. Now we can talk about social justice reforms, which I think, if you're interested in equal justice, social justice is contradictory to equal justice and whatnot. But those are other issues, and they don't require some of the stuff. Well, we're going to end not the live stream, so you guys can hang loose, but we're going to end this episode here. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. You can post below your thoughts and comments on anything talked about today. Love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts